Everyone, welcome to my channel. Imagine a place smaller than a city park, yet shaping the lives of over a billion people. That's Vatican City, a tiny enclave in Rome with a colossal legacy. Today, we will trace its epic journey from an ancient swamp to a papal stronghold by the 19th century, culminating in its birth as an independent nation. That's a story of faith, art, and diplomacy, buckle up for a thrilling ride through 2 millennia. I will introduce it in 6 parts. First part, ancient origins, from marsh to sacred ground. Our tale begins around 500 BCE in ancient Rome. The Vatican was the eager Vaticaners, a soggy marsh across the Tiber River, far from Rome's grandeur. Its name may stem from the Etruscan word for province, hinting at the mystical past. By the 4th century CE, Emperor Caligula built the circular Vaticanus, a carrot racing studio housing 200,000 rowing fans. But in 64 CE, everything shifted. After Rome's Great Fire, Emperor Nero persecuted Christians, and the tradition holds that St. Peter, the first pope, was crucified upside down in the circus, buried in a nearby necropolis. His grief transformed this match into hallowed ground. By 324 CE, Emperor Constantine, having equalized Christianity, began constructing the old St. Peter's Basilica over Peter's tomb. Pilgrims flocked in, turning the Vatican into a spiritual hub. The nearby Papal district bustled with clergy and markets. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 CE, Babs took charge of lands known as the patrimony of St. Peter, stepped into a larger role. Part 2. Medieval turbulence, fortress and exile. The Middle East brought challenges. In 846 CE, Saracen pirates raided St. Peter's, looting treasures. Bob Leopold responded by building the Leonine Walls by 852, creating the fortified Leonine city around the Basilica and Borgo. Parts of these walls still stand, a testament to medieval resolve. Trouble escalated in 1309 when political unrest drove Pope Clement V to Avignon, France, starting the Babylonian captivity. For 17 years, the Vatican decayed as Popes lived in French luxury. They returned in 1377, but the Great Western Schism split the Church, with rival popes in Rome and Avignon vying for power, leaving the Vatican caught in the crossfire. Third part, Renaissance splendor, art and ambition. By the 15th century, popes returned to Rome, sparkling a revival. Pope Nicholas V expanded the Apostolic Palace, using marble plucked from the Colosseum, establishing it as the papal residence. Pope Sixtus IV built the Sistine Chapel, adored with frescoes by Pacelli and others. The warrior Pope Julius II elevated the Vatican to new heights. In 1506, he founded the Swiss Guard, whose colorful uniforms still protect popes today. That same year, he ordered the demolition of the 1,200-year-old St. Peter's Basilica to build a grand one, designed by Bramante, Michelangelo, and others. completed in 1626, with the Bernese majestic St. Peter's Square colonnade added later. It became the world's largest church, a symbol of Catholic strength against the Protestant Reformation. Fourth part, 19th century, the fall of the Papal States. By the 19th century, the Vatican faced its greatest threat. Since 756, the Papal States, spanning central Italy, made popes both spiritual and temporal rulers. But the Italian unification movement, the reached Green Mantle, changed everything. From 1860, King Victor Emmanuel II seized papal territories. In 1870, Italian troops captured Rome, dissolving the Papal States. Pope Pius IX, defied, retreated to the Vatican, declaring himself a prisoner and refusing to recognize Italian rule. This Roman question left the Vatican as a tiny, isolated enclave of 44 heretics, its future uncertain. The fifth part, the founding of Vatican City, the Lateran Treaty. Vatican City's independence wasn't achieved until the 20th century, resulting in the 19th century crisis. After 1870, the standoff between the popes and Italy persisted for 59 years. In 1929, Pope Pius XI and Mussolini's Italian government signed the Lateran Treaty, establishing Vatican City as a sovereign state. Covering just 44 hectares, it became the world's smallest nation, ruled absolutely by the Pope. Italy paid 1.75 billion yuan to compensate for the lost Papal States. Treaty granted the Vatican diplomatic rights, its only postal service, currency, and ensured Catholicism's special status in Italy. From an embattled enclave, Vatican City emerged as a global diplomatic force, engaging with over 180 countries. Sixth part, conclusion. From march to sovereign sanctuary. From St. Peter's martyrdom to Renaissance gradual, from the Papal States collapse to the Lateran Treaty, Vatican City's history is a saga of resilience. A march became a sanctuary, a fortress became a nation, small enough to cross on foot, yet a vast influence. It stands as a testament to faith and diplomacy. Thank you for joining me. Next time, you'll hear Vatican, think of its blood, art, and triumph against the odds. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and share. See you next time.